Ready? Welcome back to another episode of Young, Not Dumb, Not Broke. We are your hosts, Stephen Corner, the mortgage man from Glass Financial, and
Joshua Mason, Choir Dining, CL Wines.
we have the man, Aaron Carrasco, on today. You would have been to one of his centres, Pinot and Picasso. He's the co-founder and director, and he has a bunch of other business ventures. Welcome, Aaron.
Welcome,
Thanks,
mate.
boys. Thanks for having me.
No
I really
dramas.
enjoyed our little pre-chat.
Yeah, it's good to
warm
catch
now.
up, mate. To learn a bit more
I'm
about
all
your business
sweaty
venture.
now.
Because, mate, I've seen a lot of this stuff really emerge out of nowhere. And I guess I'm sitting next to the guy who kind of pioneered that some time ago. And now look at the business. Like, you're kind of everywhere. Mate, tell us a little bit about Pinot and Picasso for people who don't know. Mate, this is a really cool little project that kind of touches on a bit of hospitality, bit of an artistic flair with a bit of entertainment, because that's kind of what it is. You're kind of drawing a bunch of things together, making it fun and interactive. So, mate, tell us a little bit about Pinot and Picasso.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. It's a lovely way to articulate it. And if we've got any of our team listening, I'd like them to just write a couple of those notes down because it describes it really well. But if you're not familiar with Pinot and Picasso, and funnily enough, James is my partner who's in England at the moment, but we have always been horrible at describing it. So it is a 3-hour guided painting instructional where you can bring your own bottle of wine, your own cheese, you round up your friends, and we take you through a painting. And as you touched on, it's got a little bit of hospitality. It's got a lot of creative entertainment, and it just allows people to become back to their, I guess, not childlike self, but just creative self. And quite often it brings people back to a present. So really cool business. We always say, one of our big objectives in what we do is just to ensure people leave a little bit happier than when they first arrived. And 4.5 years later, it really is still proving to be a very simple recipe, but very effective in its own right.
It's actually incredible because I'm certain that pretty much everyone knows what Pinot Picasso is. I've never been. I see it on social media all the time. People I know who go there. I would never, ever think, hey, how about I open up a studio where people can paint for 3 hours? That sounds like a terrible idea to me. However, it's extremely popular, and now that I've seen the joy it brings people, I'd like to do it myself. But how does that creative process begin when you started Pinot Picasso?
Very accidentally, and we make no ifs, buts, or maybes about it. If we were set out to build a company that we've built today, we would have failed in the first 2 weeks. Some of the best things just happen organically and unintentionally as well. And that was very much how it all planned out for us. James and I had always been discussing doing some sort of business together. We went to school together. We were in uni at the same time, so we bummed around a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
What degree did you study?
I actually studied podiatry, and he studied criminology.
Well,
and
you would have been bumming around too much then.
we bummed around a fair bit.
Yeah?
Heaps. So,
You uni kids,
Yeah.
stop bumming around.
Mate, business degrees are even
Get to work.
better. You do like 6 contact hours a week.
yeah. And I couldn't imagine what a post-COVID university would look like, where they get it. You had a pretty free reign when you're in university to start with, let alone now what the new normal might be in a university type thing. Do I want to find out? No,
Definitely
but
not.
also it was an awesome time. So circling back, we had a lot of conversations about going into business of some sort with each other. And one night I was at the pub, and my now wife and her friend Sally, who's actually the head of franchising on maternity leave at the moment, went to one similar concept in the city, came back, picked me up. James was in Vietnam. He just had a pretty bad breakup and was finding himself on a bus around a Vietnamese town.
I'm sure he found a lot
What's
of
he
things.
doing?
He found a lot of things over there.
He needs to speak to Matt Gamble.
So
What's his name?
James Crow.
James, you need to
Crow.
speak to Matt
Yeah,
Gamble.
well, we all know each other. So, so what I loved about just those two at that point in time was that they were just so happy. They weren't hammered drunk. They drove, but they were just really happy with, I guess, how it all panned out and their night. Just a very enjoyable, wholesome night. Messaged James straight away and said, I think this might be the one. And just that text exchange was probably, 10 to 20 messages back and forth. And 6 weeks later, we opened our first studio in Penrith.
Wow.
Jesus.
That text exchange runs up the stairs of our head office.
No way.
So we kind of immortalized it, and just I always just like it for our staff and anyone that visits us that, again, it doesn't need to have a 50-page business plan or, years and years of thought put into it. You just kind of, at the end of the day, just have to have a bit of a go and let it work itself out. And that was the kind of rationale for us, where we said, you know what? What's the worst case that can happen? We're both working full-time jobs, and we picked up a rent for like $22,000, and we did a couple of things, and we said, look, at its worst case, we're in the hole for maybe $35,000 here. We can recover from this. So why not? Let's just have a crack. And that was it.
That whole transaction was pretty smooth. Like, it was like you've had two ladies who've just gone and had a really cool experience. Like, and we all have good experiences in our daily lives, but we don't go back and go, hey, let's open up this business. Like, it's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool. It's like that's how the world works. So you've had two of your lovely females. They've gone and done this experience. They've come back and went, that was amazing. And then on that spot, you've gone, let's just give it a go.
Yeah, I think there's a little
Any
bit.
experience before?
No,
Okay.
none whatsoever. But I think the big one is that more just so. I mean, Steve, you're from Penrith, and you do business in the Northwest, so it's a western suburbs type makeup. So the Hills is actually one of the harder places to get to.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad that someone's on my side here.
the Hills is hard to get to the city. Penrith is actually significantly further away, but it's pretty direct, but it is a long commute in. And the mantra wasn't necessarily like if we can make heaps of money and stuff off the bat and all that sort of stuff. It was more just kind of, if people are prepared to go and travel into the city, what do you reckon they'll be like if it's in their backyard? And I guess that's possibly by definition like gentrification, like as things start to, towns start to progress, is that they realize that let's not let the money leave the town. Let's bring really cool things into the town. And that was the whole methodology as to it. If someone is willing to go that way, what would they do if it was here?
And obviously, they did it.
It was awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And I'm a staunch Penrith person. I love it.
Me too.
There's so much opportunity.
I feel like there's a lot of these sort of crusaders of Penrith that I know, and they're like Penrith through and through. Like
they are, mate.
It must be an area. It must be an area. Like I feel like I'm missing out on this. Like I want to be part of this Penrith sort of society.
Well, mate, when
Move
you
out.
5 years ago
Old
or so,
missus.
right? That's when I saw Penrith starting to actually gentrify as well. Because if you go back 5 to 7 years, what did you have? One Chinese shop, a couple kebab shops. That's it. Go up the street now, there's unlimited possibilities.
There's funky things happening there.
Absolutely. And I mean, it meets the amount of people that are there as well.
Correct.
So it's the perfect storm. And we always say we always believe we're in a great time, and just in a great time, great place. If I was in year 7 now, in 10, 12 years when I could be starting to think about doing something like that, I'd be like, oh, shit, I might have missed a bit of the wave there.
Yeah, 100%.
It's very seldom that you kind of know that you're in the wave and you're contributing to the wave, which, again, you just got to be so grateful that, you're in the right place, right time. You went to school there, people. And going back to your point there, Josh, about it seems like there is a number of people on that crusade. I've spoke to a lot of people that have said exactly the same thing, and you can't nullify it to one thing whatsoever. But I think the town as a whole makes sense. Like there is a genuine epicenter of it. It's not like around here where you got the hill, like you got Castle Hill, then you got Rouse Hill, and then like that whole
and you got like Kellyville.
That's right.
And then you got those bougie bastards in Beaumont Hills who decided to cut Kellyville out of it. I'm in Beaumont Hills.
I know you are.
So
screw you, Kellyville bastards.
I think it's got a genuine identity. It's got the identity's always been there because you've had a football team. But again, talking about like things being a bit of a perfect storm, people are willing to invest the population's there, the football team's going gangbusters, and it's just this great time and place to be in that area.
Yeah.
Well, I know we've spoken about Penrith a lot, but then we very, very fast track from Penrith to now a business. And kiddies, listen to this. We've gone from now one store to how many stores now?
We've got about 80 around Australia and New Zealand.
80 stores that you can go and paint.
In 5 years.
In 5 years. That's ridiculous.
What's that, like 15 a year?
Yeah, it was... We're in the process of rebranding, so we got to pull apart the history of the company a lot. And it was just amazing. And people kind of are blown away, but our biggest growth always came in COVID.
It was massive. Absolutely fucking massive during COVID.
Yeah, just our biggest growth came in COVID where the world was so uncertain and people that had devoted, their life to companies were now on the outer because the company had no idea what was going to happen. And I guess they felt, I want to take control back of something in my life. Me and my husband have always been thinking about doing a business. I want to understand how these things work. So we saw just crazy growth through those periods, which again, we'll only look back at one time to go, that was the craziest thing ever, that we lived through that and people were investing in that time and all sorts of stuff like that. But again, we're still very much in that kind of time in history. So a really reflective statement doesn't exist just yet. But yeah, that's when we did see quite big growth in the companies in terms of like year on year doubling growth.
Huge.
Crazy.
And the thing I like about it a lot is that you're actually offering an alternate solution to entertainment.
Yes.
And I think this is probably why, on a localized point of view, it's so popular. Because there's only so many things you can do in your local area before you've exhausted all of them, or you need to travel out.
Yep.
And with art, there's an endless capability to what can be done on a canvas.
Yep.
It's endless.
Yep.
Someone who wants to get into art and wants to learn about art, mate, you're going to be learning about art to the day you die. Same with me. I'm in art. I'm in food.
Are you an artist?
I'm an artist on a plate, yes.
You're an artist on a plate.
On a plate.
That sounds very sexual.
Like that?
That's very sexual.
Yeah, I know. Steven's a bit toey today. But you give an alternate solution to entertainment. It's fun. I can guarantee you that you have large groups that go in there, friends, girl groups, hens, all this type of stuff. Like, sorry, I'm probably overly promoting you right now, but jeez, I'm ambassador of Pinot and Picasso. But I can just imagine that you're doing something that's different outside of the box. And I'm a big fan for people who stick to their guns. I'm a big fan for people who do something outside of the box and create an alternate solution for entertainment, for hospitality, whatever it is. It's so easy to slip into the cycle of the norm of what everyone else is doing. So, mate, credit to you. 1 store to 80. That's fucking huge.
What did you plan to franchise?
No, not initially. Like, again, if any of this stuff that we planned today was in the initial, or that we have today was in the initial plans, no deal.
Yeah.
It kind of was all just an organic. Like, that's what I love about it. It was very
all
organic.
these stores, mate.
Wow. Yeah.
Looks like a dictionary.
It looks pretty. I haven't seen that page in a while. It looks pretty cool.
Mate, it's impressive, mate.
Thank you. Yeah. So, and I always like. I get a lot of people asking all the time, like, about business and all this sort of stuff, and there is just such an element that you have to, like, firstly, be naive. Like, there's nothing wrong with being naive and thinking that it's all going to kind of work out, because you're going to get to a point where you aren't that naive, and that's probably where we are now, where everything gets calculated 10 times more because you've experienced things and you've won and lost. But be naive, and there's you can go wrong, but you're going to learn from it, as opposed to having it all mapped out at the very start. It just won't work, because what do they say? Plans are only as good as when you get punched in the face or something like that.
100%. It's something like that. Yeah. Well, for example, that's a great point, because business is up and up, up, down, up, down. You get some big ups and you get some big lows, right? So then you've got this thriving business, and then COVID happens, right? And initially, I'm assuming you've gone, oh no, we're screwed. Then from there, you've pivoted. So what was the thought process during COVID, and then how did you pivot on that?
Yeah, it was kind of just, I guess, fly by the seat of our pants. But we saw a lockdown coming. Why Pinot Studios did, they were quite safe throughout lockdown was that our studio owners could just walk out and close their door and return when they were allowed to go back. As long as their rent was kind of under control, which the landlord and the tenant type relationship was kind of adhered to, which we did a lot of assistance with, was under control. They had no more fixed overheads. All their staff were casuals. Their stock was non-perishable, which is a lovely thing from being in hospitality, that you weren't throwing anything out. So if we got that under control, it was just a forced break away from the company. As a head office, we grew and we had a lot more overheads to pay for. So we did move into a take-home offering, so we became overnight a logistics company, in where we. So I know you guys had Jake Water on, and he spoke about his first office.
Yep.
And I was working for Jake as his BDM at the time. And I remember he showed us this. I met him and he had no staff. He had 2 apprentices and myself. And he walked me through this office in Penrith and said, "This is where we're going to be." I said, "Mate, there's no one here. Like, it's absolutely, you got nothing." Like, and he goes, "Nah, this is going to be, I'm going to build this mezzanine. We got this warehouse. It's going to crank." Anyway, lo and behold, he did that and the staff grew, and then he outgrew it. And as he was starting to outgrow it, we were in exactly the same spot at Pinot. Had about 4 staff. We were all kind of working remotely, still on like James's parents' kitchen bench and stuff like that, because it wasn't a professional outfit just yet. So when I caught wind that Jake was leaving, I said, "You know what? Let's go into this head office. Let's go and make our head office." And what I said to him a couple of years prior, my other shareholders said to me at that point, where they said, "We're not ready for this. We have no staff. We got nothing, right?" And I said, "Look, I've seen it. I've just literally seen it, that if you acquire the place, you have nothing else but to do but build it out and fill it out." And that's our head office, his first office. And funnily enough, we are about to leave that office. And I've spoke to a couple of people who are, at a smaller part of their business, saying, "Hey, get on the real estate agent, get this office. It's got pretty good juju." Like, it was a brand new office when Jake took it. And it's had Penrith Solar Centre and it's had Pinot and Picasso. Like, I just want to see the next thing that gets in there just flourish, because, it's got some really awesome energy and just runs on the board through that 200 square meter. But I guess kind of going back, and that was a bit of a tangent there, but we had a warehouse connected to our office from the start. And we're like, "Oh, well," it's really funny. We were like, "Oh, this is going to be mad because we can just put a basketball hoop up here and we just play basketball at lunchtime and stuff like that." That basketball hoop is still sitting. It was like a wall mounted basketball hoop. That basketball hoop is still sitting on a cupboard, and it's kind of a metaphor because COVID then hit, and that warehouse has been full ever since.
Wow.
So we turned into a product. We turned the whole company into a take-home product where people could effectively do Pinot at home. We integrated like live videos for people to do it at home if they had take-homes. If they had pencils and paper at their house, they could do it. If they just wanted to watch something, they could do it. I look back really fondly because it was, and I'm sure a lot of people look back at lockdown, whilst it was, ordinary, it was also kind of cool at the same time. Like, you always look back and you go, was it really as bad as what we thought? And thankfully we got out of it and everything like that okay, and we weren't, at a point of losing, and we were able to shift the company. But yeah, out of that we saw really great growth because we had amazing brand marketing out of that through doing live sessions. But yeah, that's kind of how we got through, and we still run the logistics company. There's still virtual sessions going out every week out of our warehouse.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
And that's just you supplying products, brushes, paint.
Yeah, and we got enough collateral through what we made that, and then a corporate offering became really big where, companies would say, "I've got a national team. We don't have, we don't want to bring them to conference and we can't travel or anything like that. Can we get one of these sent out to 200 people around the country, and we're all going to plug in at one time?" And
Wow.
we facilitated that, and it was just like alternate revenue streams that we never thought existed. but under that duress, I guess we created it.
Nice.
Have you found a drop off now in the home sent packages since COVID's kind of disappeared?
Yeah. But the corporate offering still exists.
I would never have thought about that. That's an awesome offering.
Yeah, and there's so many big companies in Australia that we've had the pleasure of working with that, are huge name companies that, you do realise that they're just mum and dad's working at home as well. Like, even though they're employed by, your Atlassians and your Googles and everything like that, they're just normal people that work for these companies that need to be entertained still.
I'm feeling like people are starting to go back to shops now and do traditional shopping. There's been a lot of talk that online spending has slowed down quite significantly because of so much influx of e-commerce and whatever it is. But it feels like shopping centres are getting more people back in there because people wanting to feel and touch, try things on, not be disappointed.
Yep.
And they are going back to the shops because, why do I say that? It's because shopping centres are now starting to reinvest into makeovers, renovations, bigger things. Like, they wouldn't be doing that without the proper forecasting.
Yep.
So automatically in my head, they're like, okay, shopping centres are trending back up again. They want people to feel even more compelled to go to shopping centres. All right, so let's go throw a couple $100 million at the shopping centre and let's make it bigger and better because we're trending back up again. More people, more headcount coming through, which means online slowing down.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting how things are sort of taking 360. And I always believe that there's a start and an end to everything.
Yeah.
There is a start and an end to everything. So this might be a temporary end to online shopping for the minute. And I think a kickstart back up to face-to-face shopping and going back to the shops and trying and feeling and getting what you want at the time.
Big time. And I think the retail sector, like, it has to work that way. It's good for everyone.
Yeah, totally.
Except if you're trying to get a commercial rent in Westfield.
Oof.
Ooh.
Ouch. They hurt.
No one wants to be plugged that hard.
So mate, apart from, I guess, facilitating 80 stores, which I can imagine how complex it can be, you also have a restaurant too, just to throw that in the mix. Just in case everyone thought it wasn't hard enough or there needed to be more throughout the day, there is a restaurant too. So tell us about the here we go. Look at this. This looks cool.
1 second.
Wow.
Can I have some water, Brendo?
Checho's.
Checho's.
Grab two, Brens.
Checho's. We'll wait till Brendan
I like
grabbing
look
us the
at this
water.
thing.
Thank you, Brendan. I love you.
Fuck, I want to go here. Thanks, Brens. We love you, man.
Coffee.
Sick cunt.
Quick water break.
So the
Go, cut that out. Cut that out. Yes.
I just spilled it all over me.
Cut it out.
These bottles are really fucking.
Cut it out.
Oh, fucking hell. Oh no, poor bastard.
Oh, much better.
All right, so just when you thought that 80 stores wasn't enough, there is a restaurant. And mate, tell us how this came about, because quick question is, did you have hospitality experience before? Are you some hidden chef that was, in those kitchens grinding it out when you were younger? Did you spend the hours and the time in Michelin star and all this shit? So where or how this happened, tell me.
Yeah, so James, my partner, best mate, him and I guess at the same kind of period of Pinot, which is kind of funny that I'm going to go down this path because we spoke about the naivety and things not necessarily needing to be planned and everything like that down to a T. Pinot is like a 2-year plan Checho's was a 2-year plan in which we would send like late night emails at like all hours at like, this is what I reckon it would look like and this is what it would feel like and this is the menu and all these different things.
Yeah.
And we really, waited and were really patient with it. And basically we kind of got to the point where we had all these different plans and we said, you know what, like if we're going to do it, we need to assemble a team. Like to answer your question, no, I didn't spend time in Michelin star restaurants and, or come from an extensive hospitality background. I worked in retail for a number of years and I think, they go kind of hand in hand with each other and customer service is something that we're both really passionate about. But again, going off the Pinot mantra that we have never actually worked in our venues, and they weren't designed to work in our venues. We wanted to create something that our shareholders could be really proud of, and we could give our team something, an amazing venue to work in and a great organisation to be part of. So we started Checho's. We found 3 other shareholders that one was on a day-to-day operation, one was a builder, and one was a graphic designer on top of the 2 of us. So we found people that sit in different lanes, but also are heavily required to make the operation come to life and to turn daily. So that happened in October 2020, just post-lockdown, and we absolutely flew from the start. And I guess the biggest one was like, we're running a pretty cool company in Pinot, pretty easy to do hospitality. What a rude shock that was.
I was watching Kitchen Nightmares last night by Gordon Ramsay. I love Kitchen Nightmares. And
that's what I would do that though.
I know you do.
It's part of my business.
I was saying to my wife, funny enough, last night, if I ever tell you I want to open a restaurant, tell me no, because that looks like one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
Even the margins in my head don't work. I don't know much about restaurants and whatnot, but I think it would be a tough game.
Yeah. I'm
so glad that you guys are just giving me a big bear hug right now.
one of our guys and I love the challenge that running hospitality venues do provide. And we have a second venue in our group called Favela, which is a little hole in the wall coffee shop on
it's a coffee shop
on High Street.
Yeah.
But I love the challenge that comes with it. But one of our mates, he was very avid to own a bar, and he called us a couple of times about owning a bar, and then a couple of his other friends owned a bar, and then he saw the realities of it, and he said to me, you know what, I've realized hospitality venues are like glitter. It looks good when it's on, but it's really hard to get off you. And I said, shit, like that's a really good way to put it.
It's bittersweet.
And you know what the coincidence is here, right? Checho's. I'm actually going to dinner at Checho's tonight, and I didn't plan it. And we've got Aaron on today. So Aaron's going to pay for my entire bill for free.
Wow.
Got it. Let's rock and roll.
How good's that?
Because Chef Josh gave one of the greatest plugs ever. So
That's it.
it's all just a little ecosystem.
Wait, can I fucking come? Hang on a second.
It's my brother's birthday.
No, don't worry. He's going to go have Mexican tonight, and we're going to go have Wagyu steaks at
Sounds
mine.
good.
So
Sounds
it's
good.
all right. It all what goes around comes around, mate. We'll send you photos, Steve.
What do you think the best thing on the menu is? Are you allowed to say that?
Yeah,
Is this the cafe?
This is the cafe.
Okay.
So it's just
It's a pretty cool little...
a 6 square meter hole in the wall that
Right,
we
it's
got.
like literally it's like this, like in the wall. Like it's that
okay.
big.
So it's not a cafe, it's a takeaway off-route?
Yeah. Grab and
Seats at the
go.
front?
No, just grab and
Nothing.
go. Just
Grab
a
and go.
quick alternative. Me and you.
Can we go to the menu of
to-
Checho's?
The Checho's menu. I mean, we've got a staples that
Yes.
that
You.
that people will travel far and wide for, and that's something that we're really proud of, is that we created things on that initial menu that are kind of always there now.
Yeah.
It kind of kills the chefs at times though, but when people are traveling from the city to get some of our corn ribs or our potatoes bravas or our ceviche, like
What's your go-to?
those are things that we really like.
What's your go-to when you eat there?
What do I get? I have something. What's going on? This isn't good. What's my go-to? I always like just I love tapas style stuff. So I love if we can get like a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And that share and grab, and you have a taco and you have some potatoes and you do everything.
Oh, just blame it on my laptop. Yeah.
It's always your
sorry,
laptop.
everyone. It's my fault.
If you watch previous episodes, it's always his laptop.
Jeez, come on, Apple.
yeah.
Jeez.
No, that's awesome.
I'm going to
mate.
have a look
And
now.
it's really become a staple in the area as well.
Let's have a
So
look.
you've done a
Checho's.
tremendous job with marketing and with providing service. Obviously.
Yeah. I think going back to tying into that gentrification of Penrith, the consumer does now have some awesome options to go to, and across the road there's a wine bar, and across the road there's a dumpling bar, and then across the road there is a beautiful rooftop bar, and you've got another kind of speakeasy down there, and heaps of great options, and it just, the consumer is not only got options, but they're also going out more frequently as well. So whether they can't come to us every single night, we don't want them to come to us every single night. spread that money around. There's plenty to go around, but just the act of going out, if we can ensure that continues to happen, the rest falls into place.
Why Mexican?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually.
Who came up with the Mexican thing? Are you Mexican?
No, my dad's... so, funny story. So, my
He's
dad...
got a Mexican moustache.
Yeah, well, currently. My dad's Chilean. And we've always enjoyed... We always used to go down to, like, when we were in uni, to this place called Amigos. And it's like a Tex-Mex. But
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's in Wollongong, and we used to, like, go crazy down there. And it was a uni haunt. And we just fell in love with Mexican that way. And then it was always kind of wanting to be Mexican. So my dad's name's Sergio.
Yeah.
And the South American, you call him Checho.
Right.
So that's I guess how the story. And if you park at the car park next to that, the building there, you'll see on the roller door, that's my dad. Like, there's a painting of my dad.
Oh.
But anyway, dad's Chilean, and any Chilean, they always got their back up. Like, they got a little inferiority complex always. Like, for
Love
some
their
reason,
steak too.
yeah,
Barbecuing.
yeah. But
you
they
love your
always
barbecues?
they always think their food's the best. Doesn't matter if you're Argentinian, Mexican, Spanish, like shit, right?
Yeah. We're all rubbish.
Yeah, but the funniest thing was he didn't know we were doing this, and then one night we finally got the render and the plans of the Chechos, and we said, "Look, Dad, it's not you're still alive. It's not an in-memory venue or anything like that. We just think it sounds great, and but the place is going to be called Chechos." He goes, "You know what? I really like Mexican food now. Like, I think it's fantastic. Like, yeah, come on, mate."
I was going to say,
Wow.
I thought he was going to start going off.
No, yeah. I didn't realize, but Mexican actually is my favorite food now.
That's an awesome thing to do for your dad.
But Mexicans, it's a nice sharing offering.
Correct.
I spent a lot of time in California, so I was spoilt
Yeah.
with Mexican food where you get the trolleys come up and make guacamole at the table and whatnot. Like I
love
I
guacamole.
really enjoyed the Mexican cuisine in LA, San Fran. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people in Sydney have done it exceptionally well.
Yep.
No, not many. I tell
But
you
mate,
that much.
I'm always happy to be blown away, and mate, I really look forward to going out.
Yeah.
To Penrith
Also,
and
it was
giving it a go.
so if you see underneath the Chechos there, it's contemporary Mexican. So we're definitely not like a Tex-Mex type thing, but we're not fine dining at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And we had just finished. It was the day before opening that we're having our family and friends there, and we just finished. Wiping down all surfaces for the last time. The 50th wipe down of, once you got the dust up, the floors, the coverings on the floors all came up, and we'd been there for about all day, just working and working, bringing everything in, taking the plastic off furniture. Anyway, Josh, you'd know this better than anyone, but that beer that you have when you sit down and you go, oh, like, we're done, right?
Crisp.
All we got to do is
How
just show
crisp
up.
was that beer?
Yeah. All we got to now it's our turn to let our staff take over and do what they're they're employed to do. So we're sitting there having a beer and we're looking at it and we're going, how good is this, boys? This sound system's cranking. We have one beer, great. We were exhausted. Second beer, we're like, oh, we're feeling. And then conversation just started flowing. And this is all the shareholders, and we're just having
5 of you guys.
yeah. And we're getting high on our own supply out of our own bar. Like, bars fully stocked for the first time ever.
Pumping them.
They're just going down like water. Anyway, we look around and we look at the sign and go, you know what this place is? This is an authentic Mexican. This is contemporary Mexican.
Yeah.
And all signages had it authentic put around it and everything like that. This was the day before, mind you, that we just penny dropped and we said, shit, we're not authentic. Like, there's nothing. We're not authentic at all. Like, if an authentic Mexican came in here,
I'm glad it took a bit of alcohol to work that out.
it was
great.
Like,
It was
you know what?
fantastic.
We'd like to consider ourselves to be, relatively smart people. There's 5 of us here, and not one person said, I think it's contemporary is like a bracket of
And is any of you Mexican? The 5 of you,
no.
right? So, mate, I think you're on the right women. Then those drinks really helped. The beer was cold
Well, they were
enough.
Pacificos. So
Okay. Oh no, great beer.
yeah,
Great beer.
so-
Love Pacifico. I love that. Yeah, right.
So that's a little bit of a story on that, and it's just the day before.
Mate, it looks awesome, mate. I'm actually really excited to go out there. So, mate, what's the plans with Pinot and Picasso? Like, where to now? Yeah. Have you actually hit the 5 years now? Anniversary?
No,
done?
we're in June, and I think as I was saying, we're really
Big
excited.
party.
Looking for it'll be a massive.
I'm
one.
catering it to everyone. So yeah.
yeah. We
For free. In payment for my dinner tonight.
Because the world goes around with freebies. That's why. Yeah.
So-
Says the mortgage broker.
Yeah, so 5 years, and I'm really looking forward to that because, as we were discussed earlier, when you hit 5 years, you buck a trend. You're not another number of businesses that failed in that first 5 years. And it also is like a turning point that you go, okay, what's the next 5? What's the next 10? Everything that goes into it. So with that being said, we have James, the other managing director, my sister Nina, and one of our other staff members, Sophia. They're all in the UK at the moment. So we've picked them up in Sydney and sent them over to the UK to start building Pinot UK. So James is there on an 18-month mission, and the other
he's
two
living there. You've sent your business partner off and said, ciao, ciao.
Yeah,
Go and build us internationally.
let's see what we can do.
Wow.
So
Big move.
It is a big move, and he was kind of born to do the movie. He loves it. Loves being abroad, and my sister, I really miss her. Like she's such a fun. She's so great for our culture. She's just someone that if you have her on your team, you're just very lucky to have her, and Sophia as well. So we're in this kind of adjustment period of just what the new normal is. I was on a 6:30 in the morning meeting this morning with the UK, and there's 6 o'clock. Like it's just that whole adjustment period. But yeah, trying to create the flagship up in the UK and see what England has to offer.
Is there much competition there with other stuff?
Not really.
No.
There's definitely potential. Like I lived in London for a month.
Yep.
A few years ago, and the culture of going out is actually, I would say, even more so than Sydney. Like you'll go out to do things. It's summer, everyone will stand on the side of the road, have a beer in the sun. Like going out is a bigger part of the culture.
But population as well. Like
They come out of the walls. I couldn't
yeah.
believe it.
Yeah.
We were in London 2 months ago, and it was cold, and 100% agree with what you say. Like people go out, but also the flip side, and it was freezing, right? And people are packed out on a Monday night, restaurants pumping. But the population's one thing, but also you got to kind of take into consideration their living type of style as well. If they're in this tiny little apartment,
Correct.
they've kind of got a bed, they want to hang out with friends. Is like, what else can you do? Whereas
100%.
Australians love having space, land, barbecue,
cinema rooms,
sitting at big
Yeah.
long tables within your house because we've got an abundance of space.
Yeah.
and a low population.
Exactly
that
right.
supports
And-
that.
Yeah.
And you could potentially even franchise Checho's over there because people in London have a couple of foods they do things really well. But if you look at foreign foods, like any Asian cuisine, it's probably the worst type of Asian cuisine in the world. Have you ever had Chinese in London?
No,
Do not.
there was a lot more food to eat than.
Don't. Do contemporary Mexican, mate. They'll think it's the best Mexican in the world.
That's funny. Look, I always say we franchise a pretty straightforward business.
Yeah.
And people ask us all the time, "Oh, are you going to franchise Checho's?" And my answer is like, we franchise one of the easiest, like straightforward businesses out there, and it's still very difficult.
Yeah.
Hospitality is a hard business to start with.
Oh,
So you
God.
start franchise, and I think we spoke about McDonald's before. Like it's where every single time you go into one of those chains and you're like, how do you guys do it? It's just out of this world, sensational.
Where has your drive to run and own businesses come from? Did your parents own businesses?
My mum owns a Kumon franchise, which is like a tutoring for kids in maths and English. But I got asked this only recently. I wouldn't say my parents are entrepreneurial. They're both migrants. So I guess the drive to potentially own business might not necessarily be owning business, but just, I guess, recognizing that Australia lets you kind of dictate what you do. It's an amazing country in that way. And I'll even say it even more. After doing business in New Zealand and after doing business in the UK, the Australian system is just beautiful. It is set up for people to start enterprise. Sure, you get successful and the tax rates go up and everything that comes with running successful businesses starts to hurt.
It
and
means you're
everything.
making money
yeah,
too.
Exactly
Yeah, it
right.
means you're making money.
But in terms of, you know, the three of us could go out for dinner like tonight and, you know, we have this great idea and we say, okay, this is what's going to cost us. We probably can set up a company by ourselves, or we flick a message to our account. We'll have the company constitution tomorrow morning. You know, if we're all aligned to whatever bank, we can go in the bank and say, this is our constitution. Can you set us up with the bank account? You can go and, you know, get a Wix site or a WordPress site or whatever, and you can trade in a week, right? Like that is out of this world, and it's probably something we all take for granted so much. Setting up in New Zealand is so hard. Setting up in the UK. So I really do think the Australian system it's advocating for small business. The roadblocks aren't as bad as what they seem. So I always just thought like you can make kind of anything, like it's got the land of opportunity is that, right? Like you want to work hard. And I guess the other side was that there was a minimum wage. You want to, if you grab a shovel and go have a dig, on a Saturday, you're probably on $35, $40 an hour. It's out of this world.
Correct.
Like it's just the system is just designed for everyone to, you know, have a go, but also you don't necessarily need to own to also make money as well. So that was kind of my thinking that, you know, my parents had made something amazing for us, but then we had the opportunity to then go and do whatever we wanted to do. And business was just that.
At high school, were you entrepreneurial during high school? Were you a hard studier, hard worker to get to uni? Or did you just kind of do what you needed to get by?
No, I wouldn't say I did what I need to. I did apply myself. I'm not going to spin that yarn to you guys that like I hated school. I love school. I thought school was the best.
Yeah.
I enjoyed.
You're studying pediatrician.
Podiatry. Like I didn't like that second part of school. I hated that. That's why I'm not in it at the moment.
Well, you would have got pretty good marks getting to that, right?
Yeah, we did all right, and did apply myself, and I genuinely enjoyed it. Like, so yeah, I liked it, but did I think the plan was going to be something along that line? Not really. I always just liked knowing how things work, in terms of how did that customer get that. Like I've just been interested in something like that.
Yeah. So when you're studying podiatry, why didn't you go into that profession?
I think it was a 4-year degree, and then at 3 years I was starting to get like real jittery about, do I actually want to do this? And they do these things in podiatry where you go off to prac, so you go off to different practices and just watch and observe, and then you eventually take hold. And anytime I was coming up for a week prac, that Sunday I'd just have like this sinking feeling in my stomach, like I don't want to go and do this. And I'd fake like at least one a day out of that prac, just like not necessarily calling in sick, but I'd make it a little bit more elaborate, like I got a concussion or I loved a concussion because someone told me very early, you can get concussed and you can go to the doctor and say I've got concussion, and he actually can't say, well, no, you don't. So
every employee in Australia and around the world, tomorrow's your day off.
and every kid watching this, just use the concussion card.
National Concussion Day.
I was particularly clumsy at uni. I'd run into poles and, you know, trip over my own feet and, you know, hit something. And I was a very clumsy boy in uni that resulted in me having multiple concussions. Yeah. No side effects now, though. I'm okay.
Thank fuck for that. Yeah. Jesus.
So, first job out of uni or during uni?
Rebel Sport.
Awesome. Penrith?
Yes.
The one in the plaza?
Yes.
Or the old one? Was it the old one or the new one?
Boom.
Selling sneakers, yeah.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah. So
TNs.
No, they don't. That was a Foot Locker thing, mate. That was.
Sorry. Sorry, Rebel. Sorry, Foot Locker.
And then from Rebel, you went to...
I worked in various podiatry practices.
Oh, so you actually worked in?
Yeah, I worked. I had a very, very sound understanding as to what I was going to get into. It wasn't kind of just a university me just saying. No, I worked for what's now 1 Point Health in Penrith. They were, before they all conglomerated into one kind of practice, they were, you know, their own separate. So I saw it, lived it, breathed it, and then, just decided it wasn't for me. And then serendipitously ended up on Jake Warner's books at Penrith Solar Centre. Had a great time there. And, you know, if Pinot didn't start, there'd be no reason why I wouldn't be there still anymore. but he was great. He was so supportive when we started Pinot because we're both working full-time jobs and we do Pinot at night. So and again, we had no idea what it was going to end up being. So both James and I would do it at night, but our employers knew exactly what we were doing and they were really good about it. And I'll always be thankful for Jake that he could have made it, he didn't have a big team either at that time. And I was pretty integral to the operation, but he, respected it and understood it and didn't hold me back either.
Mm-hmm. Jake's not that type of guy though, because he understands, right?
Oh, I think you'd be wrong if you, like, what leg do you have to stand on? I just recently did it with all my stuff. Like, you want, this abundant light for people and they're seeing you in business. Why would we be able to say, well, you can't do it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course. Why should we be in the position to hold anyone back?
Yep, absolutely.
If someone has made a decision in life, they should be able to fulfill it.
Correct.
Like, why should we hold anyone back?
Correct.
If someone wants to quit a job, break up with their partner, do something that they've thought about, go and do it.
Yeah.
Live it, breathe it, make it happen. Don't let anyone hold you back.
No, can't hold us, as Macklemore said.
Can't hold us.
Can't hold us down. Oh no.
It's like can't hold us.
My
isn't
wife
it?
loves that song.
Like,
Yeah.
Can't hold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. No, but how many hours a day were you working there? You're working a full-time job, then after hours, we're doing like 18
Then
hours
trying
a
to
day
fill
then or
slots
something?
for Pinot.
Yeah.
Well, that was like a ticket system online. You go online, you pay for it.
It wasn't as raw as what we'd do is we'd kind of meet up on Monday and Tuesday nights. We'd kind of plan and get everything in order and roster and do stock and all that, like just general operation stuff. We look at each other and say, "You hungry?" And we'd kind of walk down to grab something to eat, and we come back and kind of
Get the
finalize
art
the week as
easels
well.
ready.
Yeah, and that
Little
and
brushes and paints and stuff.
absolutely. And Pinot was always built off staff executing the service, so just ensuring that the system was good for them to walk in on Friday night, and the show was going to run Saturday, Sunday like clockwork, and then we'd come in at the start of the week and then just pick it all up, set it all up, and off we did.
Did you ever work as an instructor, or did you hire staff from the very first
We
day?
hired staff from the very first day.
Artists, staff.
It like
Staff?
loosely termed artist. I hospitality is a big part and a big ticket for me. We've said no to a lot of fine artists that have not a personality that's conducive to our service.
Sure.
So my sister Nina, she's got an amazing bubbly personality, and she was kind of the first staff that and it was early days that we said, you know what, we're a bit short tonight. Can you go into the studio and just make people feel good? Just give them hospitality. And that really altered, or I wouldn't say altered, it really shaped our staffing criteria, because we do want staff that are got great personalities, can hold a room, that can make someone laugh, that can have a good conversation with someone.
Yep.
Just things that you'd kind of want on a good front of house team.
Totally.
That can also get around on a paintbrush.
See, and that's what you've done is extremely unique for most people starting businesses, because people who start businesses are generally trained in that area. Like for me, mortgages. I started mortgages and I've grown my business. Josh was a chef cooking hot dogs on the side of the road, and then he started a fine dining business.
Still am a chef, unfortunately.
But you've gone. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to be a business owner, and you've gone straight away. I'm hiring people. This is how we're going to grow it. Why didn't you think about jumping in to start doing the painting or the instructing?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And again, kind of going back to why it worked, it's probably just that as well.
Yeah.
I think we had to, as you get bigger and more at stake, it all comes down to your systems. But you can kind of grow it with the business as you go. We kind of had to create the systems first.
Which scale can be a beautiful thing.
Can
be.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's a tough
the
thing.
opposite, but when you've got scale and it's there, you can really create a beautiful system around it all.
Absolutely.
So like, how many people would sit in a session per session?
It's about 1 to 20. So one host to about 20 people
Okay,
in
so
a
you
session.
do 20 people at a time.
Yep.
That's the maximum.
Look, it depends on studio size, and as we start getting up, some studios can hold 30, 40 people. You put in other stuff. So, but the ratio is always, I think it's 1 to 18 or something like
And
that.
do you usually do so that you've got the casual events?
Yep.
Do you have like the other side of the events, like actual like artists that come in there and do more technical stuff, or you more so on the entertainment?
More on the entertainment side.
Okay, so you don't have say I'm a level 3 painter. I don't know. Fucking, I don't know what you call it.
Whatever the scaling is.
I can go there on that particular day and I can draw the naked chick with the grapes on her head.
Yeah, not
and
yet.
not yet.
It's
Okay.
in the works. But yeah, the 1 to 18, 1 to 20, and that's why it worked. But yeah, we had to set that up from the very start because we were never going to do it. Kind of answering your question, have you guys ever done it? We've had like some emergencies where we've jumped up in there, and James and I have done a couple of duos, and we make it, again, it's entertainment, right? So hello, watch. I'm James, I'm Aaron. We're here, your host. Just to let it be known, we have no idea what we're doing, but we have a little bit of authority in this in this game, or we own the thing. Let's have a great night, and it's always worked out so good.
Well, so do you put a piece of artwork? Like how does it run? Like and excuse my ignorance, I haven't done one.
So have you got a partner?
I do.
Yep. So your partner would say you guys have nothing on Saturday night, right? So
I'm a chef. I never have anything on Saturday night.
Let's just imagine.
Let's imagine. Let's play pretend.
Let me put my Hollywood face on. No, I'm joking.
So you guys have this date night that you've had planned for a while. Yeah. Your wife or your partner says, "Josh, we're going to Pinot." She's been on our website. She's seen that at Rouse Hill.
Yeah.
You've
You've got one at Rouse Hill?
Yep. Got one at Rouse Hill, one at Castle Hill.
Okay.
That particular night, they're painting one of our artworks. It's a particular artwork that will get painted that night. So people either book for the time or they book for the artwork.
Okay.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So.
And do you print that?
Yeah, no, it's already been mocked up by an artist prior. They're pretty handy. They just mock it all up. So it's on display. But the artist is starting with a blank canvas like you guys are as well. And they guide you through the display to kind of get exactly what it might look. And again, we have no reservations to art in that regard. So if you go, you know what, that's all well and good, and thanks for booking this, but I'm going to paint, I don't know, I want to paint my partner a portrait because I can.
You're just like, fuck it.
It's your 3 hours that you want to do. If you want to
paint whatever you want.
Yeah, if you want to paint it all black and, I don't know, put AC/DC through it, like that's cool as well.
Look, I've never been before, but I've seen the quality of people's paintings who have attended. So the step-by-step process must be pretty detailed from the person at the front, because the quality of some of these paintings, like you look at them and go, that's pretty incredible from a person off the street.
Yeah, there's a bit of method towards it. We always took the customer first, right? So our customers were adults, and we didn't want them to feel like they were just being spoke to for 3 hours straight. We wanted to give them a creative license, and we were going to guide you, but the host isn't the star of the night. You guys connecting and having a couple of drinks and relaxing and singing a few tunes, that's what you guys are going to remember.
Well, it's entertainment.
Correct.
But this is more of a personal entertainment more
Correct.
so than going to a dinner and a show.
Yes.
For people who are not good at art or don't have the artistic flair, like I'm not great at music, but I'm very good at art. There's a lot of, I guess, focus in that, and you can actually use this opportunity to switch off from everything else around you and grab a brush and start stroking on an easel. It's actually quite nice.
It's one of my favorite parts of the business is that not the ultimate happiness that we can, and people connecting and all that sort of stuff. I love that people can get present in our studios, which is one of the harder things to do. I think I also enjoy doing podcasts because my phone might have however many messages up there, but I'm fully present with you guys right now.
Correct.
And it's really seldom that you get that opportunity to just sit, have a chat, and just get engulfed in a conversation, which we're doing right now. But I guess on the other side is that people then have that opportunity to kind of sit. Like there's something cathartic about watching paint go onto a canvas, especially when you're doing it, and just become fully present. And we're a BYO option, and so many times the comment is like, "Oh shit, I didn't even really drink anything," because they got so concentrated, and they're like, "How did 3 hours or 2 hours pass just then?" Like,
yeah, wow.
But I feel like it's one of those things where you can easily remove yourself from thought.
Yes,
like really easily.
Yeah.
Because you're so immersed in your culinary, your creation, on what's going on with a brush. Like for a lot of people who find art challenging, like there's no chance you can think about anything else.
Yeah.
Like you would remove yourself from thought
Yeah.
pretty quickly,
Yeah.
and that's a really nice place to be in.
Absolutely, and really
in an orbit.
In I guess this is why meditation's become so popular. Why there's been such a awareness about things that bring you to clearer thought or just block out the noise for however long that may be. If you can do that for 3 minutes a day, they reckon you're in pretty good shape. But how do you not jump on your phone? How do you not how do you have those times where you are just fully involved with what you're doing?
Very difficult unless you
Hugely.
provide a vehicle like you have.
Yeah, but I think it's not it's not an intentional thing.
No.
It's just providing a facility that they can, or an outlet that they can do that through. And I that's by far one of the most favorite parts where people are walking out and say, that was so. I feel relaxed. I feel at peace. I feel, just happy. And it's not necessarily like the hens party that's had, a topless waiter and they've done they've had a great
Crazy
time
stuff,
and all that
yeah.
sort of
You need
stuff.
topless waiters in there too.
Yeah.
Only for women, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So you've had certain bookings there when they've done a hens and they've just gone, you know what, let's go crazy.
Yeah, but again,
I'd love to see their artwork. Wow.
Hens
probably
are
nothing
good fun.
for
They're a great
sure.
part of the business, but they're Pinot's always, it's not the end destination, right?
Yeah.
So they come in the afternoon, they're going to a restaurant after that, they're going to, I don't know, they got a hotel somewhere. It's part of a
It's calm before the storm.
Yeah, it's a multi-level day that they've got, and we're just kind of quite often at the very start of it.
But I think it's and once again, I'm not here to spruik. I'm not like an ambassador, but I feel like it's a very affordable entertainment option.
Absolutely.
So if I go there now with my partner, how much is it going to cost me?
It costs you $120 for 3 hours of entertainment. So when you
Mate,
break
it
it
costs
down
more
like
in gold class to watch a movie and I fall asleep halfway through it.
It
You know what I
does.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
seriously. By halfway through gold class, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Done. See you later.
Yeah.
So for $120, I go there. I have an interactive person who wants to, teach me something about art. I'm hoping I'm going to learn something.
Yep.
And then remove myself from thought, switch off, spend some time with my partner, and hopefully walk away with a decent art piece and obviously try to achieve something in 3 hours.
Correct.
I mean, that's 3 hours at $59 per person. When you break that $59 over 3 hours, mate, it's bloody cheap.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
100%. I was trying to do the margins before when you said 20 people per class. And I was thinking, I'm like, wow, it's good. But when you look at the margins, I was like, on scale, it'd be awesome. But
I think it's a scalable business,
100%.
obviously.
It is,
But and it has to be on scale because you're providing an affordable entertainment solution.
Yep.
But yeah, like I think it's amazing value. $59 for 3 hours of meditation. You can't even go get that at fucking City Cave.
I like that. I like that. That's cool.
But you can't go to fucking City Cave. You go to a float tank. It's like $200.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous.
And look, that there.
And I can't focus on a float tank. No fucking chance. What, two nude people slid that right next to each other floating on some water? Like, come on. Like, seriously, it's dead silent. You're not doing anything besides looking at a black ceiling.
That's funny.
It's awkward as fuck.
Yeah,
It's presents.
And but have you done a float tank?
I've never done float tank.
Don't
no.
do it, mate. There's no
I plan
chance.
on it.
You want a float tank?
In terms of, so we have Pinot and Picasso, Checho, Sevilla. Is there another business venture?
No, we're pretty set for now. We're pretty content.
You said that very quickly.
You're not going to go open up like an Italian restaurant now.
Nah. Look, our
Contemporary.
hospitality wing,
Contemporary.
very
Contemporary.
very ambitious people, and we do want to continue to grow. But I think at this point in time, we've just got to really reap our investments off everything else. And I was saying to James actually, there's that Instagram trend or TikTok trend going around where people put faces, the camera up to older successful business people and say like, what would you tell your 25-year-old self? And it's crazy how
Or what do you do
resounding
for a
it is.
living? Those
Yeah,
guys
it's kind of like that one. But
Yeah.
you're like, what would you tell your 25-year-old self? And well, that's the kind of like the last, and they all say patience. Like that's I've seen so many of them. They're all like patience. So I think you can get. It's so easy to get so excited about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and especially in hospitality, because the most fun part is sitting together, creating an idea, getting people in to create menus, getting architects in to draw up a plan of a place, getting people to build it, and then it's the most fun and it's the most expensive, but it's also the easiest part to set the thing up. What happens from day one, that's when it gets really hard. So it doesn't matter what
Because you're
business
relying on people.
Yeah.
And like, and I've been having these conversations with my staff the last week or two is that as much as I want to make my brand and my restaurant the greatest in the hills ever, which I do, and we're on track for that.
It already is.
It takes, thank you. You're so kind. But it takes a capable team behind me to also live on the same journey.
Yes.
To breathe the same journey and to believe in it. And it takes quite some time to cut a cancer out and to rebuild from that. And when you've got one person in the business to bring everyone down, it's almost like this big hole. And hospitality is notorious for this. One person becomes complacent and usually three around them follow. And you've got a big hole in the middle of your restaurant of three people going down the same fucking hole. Guess what? You need to get rid of them and then rebuild that hole. But there's a month delay just there of just trying to rebuild.
Yeah.
You know, your suppliers are not there on time. Your prep needs to get out. So, you know, like, and I get this question all the time. This is a really weird one. Like, people always go, how much prep do you need to operate a restaurant? I get it all the time. Like, how do you know how much stock to have versus customers? Guess what? You're never going to know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Unless it's pre-booked, pre-paid for, and that's their menu, then you can buy exactly what they've got. You're never going to fucking know. It's just basically experience and time and patience and trusting the process.
Yep.
You know, and I do that with so many hospitality venues, you know, around Australia. And mate, it's the same thing. Be patient. You have to go through the process. You're never going to fully know unless it's concrete. But over data and over time, we can have a pretty good understanding. But at that point, we need to have good people behind us.
Yeah. Or you have the balls to just say, this is what you're eating tonight. But then again, and this is
I've done that a fair bit. But
the set menu. And I'm so envious of those people that just have, like, whether you like it or not, you chose to be here. This is what you're eating tonight.
Yeah.
And there's lots of merit to say that because, again, adults don't love making decisions. If you're going out and you're just getting told what to do and you don't have to think about it, great. It's
sometimes
a great outcome.
And that's why we have a degustation menu.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you probably have like a set menu, like a prefix type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, a whole banquet comes to the table. You sit there and just go, whatever. Just feed me drinks and give me food. And whatever comes in, I'm going to eat there and just comply with everything. Whatever the bill is, fuck it. I'll pay for it. But today, I'm not making any decisions.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Mate,
I think
it's... Oh, sorry. I was going to say, it's been a pleasure to have you on, mate. And Brendo and I, our producer, both had the same question in our head. Brendo just wrote it down. It's really important to leave all the listeners with. What would be your advice for someone who wanted to start a business?
Yeah, I actually I had this thought about 2 weeks ago, and I've told it to anyone that would listen, because I really do think it makes so much sense at this question point, right? So I'm going to pose you guys a scenario. If you had to make $1,000 in 1 week, would you rather the one customer that pays you $1,000, 10 customers that pay you $100, or 100 customers that pay you $10?
Depends, because there's pros and cons to both, in my opinion. Because if you have the one customer, 1,000, that's awesome, less work, but you have a concentration risk. So if that guy leaves, you've got zero.
Yes.
If you get 1,000 who pay you a little, 5% leave, haven't really affected margins. So realistically, with enough scale, I'd probably go the larger number of customers than the one customer.
Josh?
And I would agree on the larger customer format, is because also the marketing opportunities behind that is like how many people are talking about that one thing and who are they telling after that. 1,000 turns to 3, 3 turns to 6, 6 turns to 12, 12 turns to 20. So for me to, you know, and I've had to change a lot of what I do, but I think moving into the future more, I've been looking at more of a bigger scale stuff. So I'd probably say the higher end, because I've also felt what the lower end feels like, relying on the big guys.
Yep.
And when the big guys aren't there, you're like, fuck.
Yeah. I guess that would be the advice, right? Is that make sure the business that you're trying to get into or want to get into because what the way I see it, right? You got the one that gives you 1 to 1,000, or one person gives you 1,000. Your customer service to that person, your love, your devotion, everything has to be amazing. They're parting with a lot of money for you. Your systems don't have to be that great because you just need to look after this person. And then the second part to that is having the strategy to find these people. So that's a very high-end customer. So if you're trying to get into a high-end business, make sure that strategy is right. We've got 10 and 100, customer service has still got to be really good. Systems have now got to come into play. They're still parting with a significant amount of money, but the risk is mitigated somewhat because you get 4 customers, you're getting closer to a break-even point as opposed to making $0 if they at that first customer.
Correct.
And then that last customer of, parting with a much smaller amount of money, you've got a much bigger sample size. Your strategy doesn't have to be anywhere near as crazy, but your systems are everything there. So that would be my advice
and then scale comes into
correct.
place.
Correct. So and scale of systems. So that would be my advice is to anyone getting into business. Just ensure that the model that you're getting into meets, I guess, your customer service, your acumen, your desire to get better, and the systems that you have in place. Now that's really kind of like a hard thing to say at the very start, but if you don't like people, don't go into a business where you have to deal with people. Like it seems pretty self-explanatory.
Don't go into a restaurant ever.
If you don't like being particularly organized, but you're amazing with people and stuff like that, go find the high-end client. So that would be, I guess, where, and if you asked me 3 weeks ago, my advice would be pretty different, but just ensure that the model that you're going into or want to start, you have internally looked at, how good your customer service is, what your level of acumen is, your ability or your internal drive to get better, and do you have the systems in place to meet, the requirements of whatever model you're going into.
Boom.
Fair enough.
That's beautiful to
I
leave
think
it on. That was awesome.
That was a pretty good.
That was awesome.
Yeah, sweet. Well, mate, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Pinot and Picasso.
Checho's.
You're out there, and Checho's, but go find the local store. If you need something to zone out, do something different, an alternate entertainment thing that you're trying to look for that's not just the usual cinemas or whatever it is, go have a little bit of fun. Find your local Pinot and Picasso, book in with your friends, your partners, whatever it is, and zone out. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Aaron.
Thanks, guys. I really enjoyed that.
And
that was awesome.
And I've got to duck off now because I've got a booking at Checho's.
He's going to Checho's now.
Enjoy.
Oh, God, I want to go to Checho's now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna,
Awesome.
wow, but anyway, thank you so much, mate.